Hi friends, Rusty with you live here on this Saturday afternoon, tracking what's going to be a day where we're going to have just kind of congested thunderstorms and the opportunity for some of those storms as they march to the east to get strong or severe. And we have that right now. We have a severe thunderstorm warning for portions of Orange County. We'll get into that in just a second. As always, CFLW is sponsored by the Lane Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Offering free consultation and policy reviews, they will walk you through that insurance claim process. You can check them out by going to leanonmelaw.com. If you would like more information, you can scan the QR code if you would like to get to their website that way as well. Great to see everyone. Let's get into it at the hour. We were tracking what was a strong storm over the western sides of Orange County, and you can see our live camera network here on the left-hand side of your screen. That storm has now gone severe, and that is right over the Orlando metro area. So at this point in time, we do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the next 40 minutes until 2:15 for these areas, as this storm basically works its way off to the east-southeast, producing what could be winds of up to 60 miles an hour and some 3/4 inch size hail. Areas that'll be impacted: Orlando, Kissimmee, Winter Park, Wedgefield, and Windermere, and many other areas from the 408 region of downtown Orlando to the south, including Azalea Park, Conway, Oak Ridge, Metro West, Bay Hill, Lake Buena Vista, on over towards MCO, Medical City, Avalon Park will be included in this. Again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning that is now currently in effect for Orange County, and it does slip into the far northern sides of Osceola County. So let me give you the actual bulletin from the National Weather Service office out of Melbourne. Southwest Orange County, north central Osceola until 2:15. Again, a severe thunderstorm over Universal Studios, and that's the other point here. These storms over very populated areas like Epic Universe, like Universal, like Epcot, like Disney, moving off across the area right now. 60-mile-an-hour winds and some penny-sized hail. That's 3/4 inch size hail for you guys. Again, some of those areas that could be potentially impacted. Monitoring the situation as far as the wind gusts go right now. The executive airport is at a 22-mile-an-hour wind, but you know, again, there's a ton of lightning associated with this. These are really noisy storms as they move across the area. And again, you can see the live network of cameras across the region for you at this point in time. Again, Lake Buena Vista, very cloudy outside. You can see Winter Garden right now where the thunderstorm had worked its way across that area. All right. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Hope everyone is doing well. Good to see everyone on this Saturday, and hope things are well. Now look, in addition to that, we've had a cluster of storms develop over portions of Brevard County as well, and you can see that over the Merritt Island area, Satellite Beach, Indian River City, and Titusville as well. So again, a cluster of thunderstorms have developed ahead of this line that has gotten stronger in the last half hour or so. I'll put this into motion so you guys can kind of see the movement that I'm discussing right now. And again, most of this activity will continue to develop and funnel its way off towards the east-southeast. So earlier in the afternoon, not that long ago, we did have a special weather statement for our far western sides of Orange County, and the Weather Service thought the winds got strong enough to turn that into a severe thunderstorm warning. We have had a 33-mile-an-hour wind at the airport, right? A 33-mile-an-hour wind at the airport. So we'll see if that storm gets a little bit stronger there, but certainly the opportunity to get what we call an airport weather warning, and that might cause some departure and arrival delays there. Now, the good news is some scattered showers have developed in our western areas as well. I'll bring on the composite radar to show you that. We've had a little bit of rain late yesterday evening and overnight for the extremely drought-stricken far western areas, including Citrus, Hernando, and Pasco counties. There hasn't been a ton of rain down in Tampa, St. Pete as of yet, and these storms will generally still miss the I-75 corridor to the west. They'll be more sporadic out there. They'll become more organized across I-4, and then they'll push their way off towards the east. This is going to be a marginal day for severe weather. Originally, the Storm Prediction Center did not have an actual risk of severe storms for today. It was just your general light green marginal, thunderstorm risk, but they have turned that into a marginal risk. This is almost a rinse and repeat of yesterday's map. This is not yesterday's map, but it does look about the same, doesn't it, where we do have the marginal risk for severe storms across the I-4 corridor towards I-95. So you can see that. And so these storms, just like yesterday, could line up a little bit stronger along the I-95 corridor. You know, I've been monitoring the situation and the discussions from the Storm Prediction Center, and they are talking about the fact that these storms are likely to stay pretty clustered, and they could find areas where we could get some heavier storms and some downburst winds that could produce some damage, but they're likely to remain isolated in nature overall. Again, if you're just tuning in, severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for the southern sides of Orange County, from the downtown area, including the Lake Eola area, back down towards Conway and Medical City and Lake Nona. Again, you can see from the Conway cam now, we've updated that for you guys, those clouds moving across the area. And again, that's part of the severe thunderstorm warning. Same situation for Lake Buena Vista. We've had some hefty storms roll across the attractions area and I-Drive. The lightning count, fairly impressive right now, about 240 lightning strikes in just the last 15 minutes. How's everyone doing for today? Good to see you, Noble Pills. Hope things are well with you. Good afternoon to you, Mr. Katz. Hello, Marilyn. Good to see you as well. I am a meteorologist. Was on television for 25 years. If you would like, I believe on this page, all of my information is in the description of the channel. You can check it out. But I was a television meteorologist for 25 years. I've worked in Oklahoma City for 7 years. So you want to cover the big weather there. I worked for the ABC affiliate there. And for 10 years, I was a television meteorologist in Orlando. So yes, I am a meteorologist. Big lightning in Altamont. At this point in time, and it's a great question, R. Jones, I don't expect there to be a tornado threat. Now, the chance is very low, potentially not zero, but even less of a chance than yesterday. So I did remove that from the headlines. Again, you're going to see in the red headlines down below kind of my thoughts on what could be the biggest issues with these storms. Now, if there's going to be any kind of squirrely spin up, it's likely to be right along the East Coast as the storms try and push offshore. I'll, of course, monitor the situation here, but typically for today and the environment that we're in, these are going to be straight line winds or downburst winds, meaning that there's pockets of drier air at the mid-levels of the atmosphere, and that air will then rush down as thunderstorms develop and produce those damaging downburst winds, which kind of fan out from where they develop, but they're all going to be straight line. There's going to be no true rotation within that. Now, could you see, as you see in Conway right now, a little bit of a lowering, a little bit of a shelf cloud situation? You know, that's absolutely possible here. We'll bring up our live cameras for you guys so you can see this again. So again, Lake Buena Vista, some of the heaviest activity is just moving off towards the east of there. Same situation for Winter Garden. We had a pretty good storm over the western sides of Orange County a little bit earlier in the hour, and now the heftiest activity is moving over the Conway area, and you can see that again. So this is part of the severe thunderstorm that is moving through the central and the southern sides of Orange County. We'll keep that camera up for you guys live. Again, a little bit of a lowering to the base. Nothing that looks to me to be of concern. I'll monitor the velocity product, which is going to be the winds in the atmosphere. And if there's anything to kind of keep an eye on, I'll show you guys that. I'm looking at that behind the scenes. I can tell you right now, this entire line of storms in Orange County is producing just straight line winds. So that's the good news there. Good afternoon to you, Water Lily. Thundering in Hunters Creek. Appreciate that. And thank you for the kind words, homie. Yeah, just, you know, again, early initiation of the storms across Central Florida today. Happened to just pop off a severe thunderstorm right over the heart of Metro Orlando. Now, the good news is this is not going to be an all-day event. This is not going to be a situation where, you know, yesterday I told you that I thought that these storms might linger and redevelop in the evening. They did. They were not severe. It brought a lot more good rain to our area. We'll take the beneficial rain. There's no doubt about that. But the other situation is that these storms should progress quicker today, move farther south and east throughout the day, and are likely to be in and out of your area faster. Now, the caveat to that is that the farther south and east that you live, those thunderstorms are likely to linger a little bit deeper into the day. But this is not going to be a scenario for Orlando as an example, where I think these storms are just going to continue to plague the area, you know, deep into the late afternoon or early evening hours. Once you see this significant storm move through, there could be some leftover shower activity and maybe a rumble of thunder that tries to hold on to the mid or late afternoon hours. But generally speaking, things should improve a little bit quicker. This is that velocity product, so we're looking at all greens on the map right now, which means that the winds are moving only in one direction. So that's good news. Again, at this point in time, nothing that looks ominous as far as that goes. We'll go back over to our reflectivity product. Again, this severe thunderstorm warning isn't affected until 2:15. This storm right now has produced nearly 40-mile-an-hour winds at the executive airport. So again, some of the areas to likely be impacted by winds of 40 and maybe even up to 60 miles an hour in a couple of spots. That's Union Park, Baldwin Park, Azalea Park, downtown Orlando, Delaney Park, Conway, where we have our camera there on the bottom left-hand side of your screen, the Belle Isle area. It does look like they might have just dropped that severe thunderstorm warning. That's fine, right? That storm looks like it's come down a little bit, but I'm going to do a track on this storm for you guys. Let's track that. And it really looks like maybe the northern side's taking up a little bit of this. I'm going to do this in two chunks. I'm going to do the northern side of this activity, and then I'm going to do the southern side. So we're going to take this in two pieces, if you will. We'll go down to 408. This storm moving east at about 20. Okay, so for the northern side of this cluster. Now again, at this point in time, and I'll just verify this, but it looks like they did drop the severe thunderstorm warning. Again, my system picks up on this stuff even faster than what you would see on the websites. Just going to double check one thing. But again, I love this thing. It always catches me off guard because, like, all right, did they drop it? Did they not drop it? But it looks like they did. I'll check it one more time here. Yeah, it looks like they have, guys. All right. Now, look, it doesn't mean that they're not going to reissue it or they're not going to reissue a part of the area, but it's good to see that the storm that was producing these severe winds potentially has dropped a little bit in intensity just a bit. All right, so let me go back over here. We'll go big screen because I want to track this line. Now, let me be clear. Despite the fact we don't have a severe thunderstorm warning right now, we just had 40-mile-an-hour winds. That's still going to knock around some things. That could take down some tree limbs. That could cause some power outages. There could still be some embedded small hail. So regardless, this is a storm that is going to drive you inside and impact your plans, at least for the next hour or so. Beginning to develop as far north as Sanford. Still a little bit stronger right now. Winter Springs, Altamont Springs, Maitland, Winter Park. Moving off towards the east. So across the 417. We're hitting the Oviedo area here at 150 in about 5 minutes. UCF 4 minutes later. University Park in Chulliota. Again, with my system, we can literally go down to the street level and look at the timing. So again, Chulliota being impacted at 2:07, about 21 and a half minutes away. You live near Oviedo, Lake Jessup area. That storm is coming your way at 150, counting it down just a little bit more than 4 minutes for the most impactful part of that storm. And while I'm talking, they did issue a special weather statement just below severe weather criteria with winds of 50 miles an hour. Again, you have to have winds of at least 60 miles an hour. So because they weren't seeing winds of 60 miles an hour, they decided to allow the severe thunderstorm warning to expire early and then make a massive special weather statement. So they're going to encompass the entire area now under this special weather statement. But we're getting winds of 50 and some really small hail, pea-sized hail. That's not going to be damaging hail for the most part here, but you might get a lot of smaller hail if that ends up developing. But again, stout storm moving across I-4 right now and into the eastern sides of Orange County, now into Seminole County, even Volusia County, and it does look like the far southern extent of that so far has died out a little bit. So let's get you the information on this special weather statement, and then we'll continue to do some live tracking for you. This new special weather statement goes into effect until 2:15, moving east at around 20, we'll call it, max winds of 50. Still included is Orlando, Deltona, Sanford, Altamont Springs, and Oviedo. Those are some of the bigger areas that could be impacted. This is the actual statement or the bulletin for the National Weather Service. Strong thunderstorm impacting Seminole, Central Orange, and South Central Volusia counties until 2:15. Again, 50-mile-an-hour winds and some pea-sized hail. Gusty winds could knock down tree limbs, blow around unsecured objects, and minor damage to vegetation is possible. And again, not expecting, at least at this point in time, for the hail size to get so large that we're going to have any issues as property, right? Your homes, your cars, your roofs, anything like that. This storm is developing north, though. It's trying to build north a bit towards Sanford. So now it's getting wet up there towards 1792 and the 417 interchange. It's going to be wet across I-4. Again, let this storm pass you by. Give it an hour. Things will be improving because it'll still be some light rain and overcast skies for a while in the metro Orlando area. But the leading edge of this is going to be the opportunity for the winds that will try and, again, reach 40, maybe even 50 miles an hour. So it's going to get worse across the 417. This storm moving right across Lake Jessup at the hour, coming out of Winter Springs, about ready to hit Oviedo. Again, tracking that area. Oviedo now, it does look like the worst part of the storm will hit you in 2 or 3 minutes, but another kind of good chunk of it coming your way at 1:55, and then Chuliota in at 2:13. Again, your 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts will average it out or round it up at the Executive Airport. 33-mile-an-hour wind gusts there at MCO. The lightning count has come down significantly down south, so it's better news from the beach line south right now. So MCO and Lake Nona, Meadow Woods, showers, still some good rain. Again, we'll take whatever Mother Nature wants to give us right now. And then as we go farther north, if you look at the live lightning count on the top center of your screen, the farther north I go with this line, the lightning count continues to improve. So it really does look like the northern part of this cell has taken over. We go from just about 25 lightning strikes down towards MCO to nearly 300 lightning strikes from Sanford, Lake Mary, back down towards Goldenrod. Again, great to see everyone. You got a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the questions or question about what's going to be happening the remainder of the day. Appreciate everyone jumping into the chat. Good to see Chessie out here for today as well. Again, appreciate all of our members of the channel. You'll see their names in green. They have access to exclusive badges and emojis. That's why you see the new next to Chessie's name. And they also have access to exclusive member short videos as well. From time to time, I'll produce some of that content in between these live streams. Remember, this is a live-only channel, so I'm only on when there's impactful weather across Central Florida. That's why I always mention to you guys, a great thing to do is to have on your notifications, all notifications, because if you know I'm on, there's a reason to check in with the channel. Again, we'll go back over to our split screen here, taking a look at Lake Buena Vista, Conway, where we continue to see again a thunderstorm rolling through. You get the idea of what's left over on the western side of Orange County from our live look right now in the Winter Garden area. That is looking off towards the west. So we still have overcast conditions there. Obviously, it's still pretty stormy across Conway. This camera is looking off towards the east. Now, clearly, on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see the darker skies. That is the southern extent of that special weather statement, right? So conditions have improved a little bit off towards the south, where the storm is still holding together a little bit more ideally, if you will, as far as the concentration of storms to your north and east of this camera. Obviously, we're still left over with some rain here. Had some breezy conditions, but never saw anything extreme in the Conway area. Chessie says it's hot and windy in Spring Hill. Chessie, did you get any rain either last night or earlier today? There were a couple of showers trying to develop there. Homie also had some big lightning in Altamont. Appreciate that. And again, yeah, thanks for hitting that like button, subscribing, and sharing. All you got to do, really, if you want to follow what we ask you, listen to Noble Pills. He'll tell you exactly the things that help out the channel. We appreciate all of those things. Liking and subscribing, again, really helps out the audience, and I thank you for that. All right, so we'll go back over to the big picture again here. So the situation is, at this point in time, we're having clusters of storms developing, still an atmosphere conducive for marginal severe weather development, right? It's a little bit different situation than yesterday. We don't have as much mid-level energy from our rotation, our spin from what was left over of Tropical Storm Arthur. That's what really enhanced the sea breeze yesterday. Now, I hate to tell you this, if you live along the West Coast, it's still the same scenario. Western breezes are pushing these storms east and southeast. There's a slightly better opportunity for a couple of showers, but US 19 West, we have a lot of population areas, especially down in Pinellas County. There's very little opportunity. If you catch a shower, it's one that's developing and it will move quickly across the area. Non-severe storms are breaking out through a lot of Polk and Osceola County at the hour. Again, this is all good rain. We'll take that situation. We have seen the storms already work their way off of the Brevard County coastline, and additional thunderstorms are developing in pockets right now, places like Mico and Barefoot Bay, Grant and Valkyria up towards Melbourne. Here's a thunderstorm again right over the National Weather Service office in Melbourne, which is where the radar is, so you can see a little attenuation there. O'Galley, Indian Harbor Beach, Satellite Beach, Suntree, Pineda could all see again passing shower, rumble, thunder. It's a decent amount of lightning across I-95. This is one of the concerns for today. If you guys woke up early or just any time during the morning and you looked outside, skies are really overcast. It was gray. There's a ton of moisture in the atmosphere. Call that precipitable water, basically the column of water directly on top of your head. Very, very voluminous for today. So that's why we had the low base clouds. That's why everything was so gray. And so when these storms get going, you snap your finger and it's producing some torrential rain. It's not taking long for these storms, even if they're not severe, to get going and to drop some heavy amounts of shower activity. So again, you get across I-95, things slow down. Now you got ponding on roadways. Everyone's going fast. It's the weekend. They want to get where they want to get, and you got some problems there. It's a little bit drier as the storm has moved to the east from the rest of the northern sides of Brevard County. But again, even out ahead of our special weather statement, a few storms are developing at the hour along the coast. The question is going to be as to whether these storms are so congested today that they're more kind of your typical storms, noisy, right? A lot of lightning, a lot of rumbles of thunder, but can they pulse up and become either strong or severe? This one got its act together here, and that's the biggest game in town. Let's continue to track this storm. I'm going to bring on our manual tracker one more time. This time I'm going to go all the way down, move it off towards the east at about 20 miles an hour. So there is some decent forward speed. If you notice that on the leading edge of this, we're able to make the I-95 corridor here in just about 20 minutes. Again, University Park, 154, Chuliota right at the top of the hour. Avalon Park, our friends there, 204, Bithlow 210, and on over towards Mims at 252. So again, if this holds together, even if it's not strong or severe, we're likely to get additional storm activity back into southern Volusia, northern sides of Brevard County, major populated areas, I-95, US 1, and A1A. No doubt we need the rain. Absolutely. Chelsea, you didn't get any rain out of it. Okay. No rain last night, nor any so far today. That's crappy. I really thought you had a chance there. The showers, you can clearly see, got going western Marion County, eastern Citrus County into Sumter, and then they've worked their way through in a couple of areas. So again, this special weather statement, if you're just tuning in, I jumped on live. I've been monitoring the situation all morning long. I jumped on live because the National Weather Service office issued a severe thunderstorm warning for central southern Orange County and northern Osceola County. As storm pulsed up, it produced some strong winds for a time, but then it didn't last very long and it died back down. So it's not severe any longer. It did produce 40-mile-an-hour winds in the downtown Orlando area at the Executive Airport. And if you live in these areas that have been impacted, let us know in the comment section below. Again, this is your live interactive channel here in Central Florida. So I love to hear from you guys as I'm talking. If you want to let me know in the comment section below, hey, Rusty, this is what I saw. This is about how much rain I got. This is the winds that we had. We got a couple of tree limbs that were down. All that information helps me and also helps your fellow viewers here of CFLW to, again, real-time information, and that's what this channel is all about. But what the Weather Service did do is they issued a larger special weather statement that encompasses the vast majority of the central and the eastern side of Orange County and the southern sides of Seminole and kind of sneaking into Volusia County as well. And that now goes until, I believe, what is that, 18 minutes, so about 2:15. Again, tracking that for you here, the times of arrival. If we take a look at the general synopsis of this special weather statement, again, we have movement 18 to 20 miles an hour, 50-mile-an-hour winds. That's quarter-inch size hail, not quarters, but quarter-inch, so pea-sized hail. That's a good situation with that. Let's take a look at how much rain is coming out of this as far as the significance of the rainfall rates. I mean, so again, this is cats and dogs. If you guys tuned into yesterday's stream, first of all, thank you for coming back and joining me again for today. I appreciate that. But in this product, we're looking for the blues and the blacks. These are your significant areas of rainfall where we're going to get more than 3 and likely up to 4 inches of rain per hour. Now again, storm's moving 20 miles an hour. It's not going to drop 4 inches in one spot, but that's the torrential rainfall that could lead to localized flooding from time to time. That could just be some ponding of the roadways or low-lying areas catching a bit of water. But from Sanford south, across 92, Winter Springs, Castleberry, moving across Lake Jessup, the 417, got to slow it down there. Then eventually towards Oviedo and Chuliota. That's the most significant rain right now. The rain has weakened and has dissipated a bit back down towards 408. So it is the central and the northern sides of this special weather statement where we have the most prolific rain and storms and the lightning to go along with it. Additional heavier cells are trying to develop north of this special weather statement. Places like Deltona, DeBary, Orange City. So up 92, up I-4, again, very congested. On a Saturday, folks probably in and out of, the Daytona Beach area in a June day. Nice little storm west of De Leon Springs. Additional showers developing southwest sides of Marion County up 200. Inverness down 41. And there's your kind of cluster of west to east activity. It's not severe in any way, but still pockets of heavier rain here. Indian Harbor Beach, O'Galley, nice little, again, that spot that I showed you earlier, about 2+ inches per rain per hour there. So there are some good rainfall rates that come along with this. Hey, Blue Goose, good afternoon to you as well. Wet and stormy day yesterday, seeing what develops today. I appreciate that. Hi, Teresa, good to see you as well. Kissimmee got hit, quiet now. Looks like it might get hit again. It might. I don't expect there to be the more significant opportunity for redevelopment like we had yesterday, but you can clearly see that there's still some moisture in the atmosphere. Again, even in Winter Garden, where the activity has passed by, not a lot of breaks in the clouds as of yet. It's going to take some time for that to happen. Generally speaking, your storm movement today is going to be east to southeast, and this line kind of continuing through. I think the biggest question is going to be just whether these storms kind of get out by themselves, whether there's enough instability in the atmosphere to produce the opportunity for marginal severe storms. We've had one today already. I do want to also highlight that in addition to the marginal risk of severe storms, this is a look at your excessive rainfall outlook for today. It's a little bit more widespread than yesterday. It's a little bit farther west, okay? Now again, we're gonna have to get more storms up in Sumter and Marion counties if that were to happen, but we're under the lowest risk for excessive rainfall. That's the area in green, but it does encompass a lot of our area, most of the peninsula. Then you get up towards St. Augustine and north towards Jacksonville, and you're in that second tier, that 10 to 15% chance of excessive rainfall. It's still likely to have better, heavier rain chances farther north from our area, but we are still getting a bit of instability and moisture, and certainly enough to produce a marginal threat, a weak threat. And speaking of that marginal threat, earlier today we were not under a risk for severe storms from the Storm Prediction Center, but they have hoisted that now marginal area across the region, just like yesterday. Still favoring I-4 and I-95 for the opportunity for these strong to severe storms the remainder of the day. We'll go back over to our quad box here. Let's go ahead and dive into our cameras as we roll into the 2 o'clock hour. Roman says we have not had any rain in almost 3 weeks in Bradenton. It has been rough. Look, I don't mind our friends on the West Coast throwing stones at us here in the Central and the East Coast. I get it. It really has been feast or famine. Exceptionally dry out west. We talked about it in yesterday's stream. The pattern has to change. You got to get the East Coast sea breeze to move on shore and the West Coast sea breeze to stay pinned along the West Coast. And you get the sea breeze collisions along the West Coast, and then you get the better storm chances. The pattern has been over the last few weeks, it's the West Coast sea breeze moving on shore. The East Coast sea breeze either stays along the coast or slightly moves inland, and all the best thunderstorm activity then is I-4 back off towards I-95. But I don't see that pattern change at least anytime soon, and behind these storms today, we're likely to begin to dry out a little bit more as we get into early next week. Hate to tell you that, but it looks to be the case. Improving conditions, Lake Buena Vista. If you're headed to the attractions later today, weather should be decent. Again, I can't rule out storms trying to redevelop in this area, but at least the initial line of stronger storms has been able to work its way across. We go down to Winter Garden. Again, You look out west, there's a little bit of clearing, right? That is a sign of things to come through lake and the western sides of Orange County. The darker cumulus clouds have gone away. We have more stratiform clouds out there right now, and even a little bit of a break in the action. Can't rule out because it's only 2 o'clock, right? And again, we are near peak summer solstice, sun holding on to the latest part of our day here in late June, that the sun breaks out. Temperatures warm back up. There's enough juice in the atmosphere to redevelop a few storms. I can't tell you for sure and a guarantee that it's the last rain that we've had in the Orlando area, especially if skies clear out a little bit. But at least in the short term, you get what should be some improving conditions if you want to get back outside, run some errands, do something like that. That's the special weather statement storm you see from Conway. The storm is moving away. We're looking off towards the east, so things have quieted down in the Conway area as well. And again, this thunderstorm is likely to continue to progress its way off towards the east as we move through the 2 o'clock hour. So back out to our quad box here. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for taking a quick second, hitting the like button, and subscribing to the channel if you haven't as of yet. If you have a question about the forecast, especially about what's happening today. Again, this isn't a forecast channel. This is we're live tracking channel. But if you're curious about how things might play out the remainder of the day, you're free to drop that in the comment section below, and I'm happy to answer those questions for you guys. All right, so again, we still have our one special weather statement until 2:15. Right now, that storm continues to be strongest from the 408 corridor north. If you live in places like Oviedo, Chuliota, down towards UCF, and then up the road into the southern sides of Sanford, that storm is now over the Sanford airport. We'll see if it's going to produce anything near 50-mile-an-hour winds. Still good lightning with this. Still producing in just this shot 242 lightning strikes in just the last 15 minutes. And the airport there has had a 35-mile-an-hour wind. Again, it's as marginal as we would get to have any potential kind of damage out of any of that situation. Typically speaking, we can handle 35-mile-an-hour winds, but you can still knock down some tree limbs. There's no doubt about that. All right, so that's for the next 10 minutes. This storm cluster is getting a little bit more organized, so it looks like kind of the northern side of this is picking up a bit. This thunderstorm is looking a little bit more impressive over Deltona, DeBerry, and Orange City. And again, your movement is going to be out of the east. Thunderstorm over Oak Hill, that's not severe, but again, it's running folks back indoors, and it's doing a little bit earlier today than what we had yesterday. This will likely be a day where our coverage is pretty widespread, right? And again, hate to mention it's not going to be the West Coast, but anywhere from, let's say, 75 east, you have a really good chance to catch a shower or storm for today. If it's not this initial line, it's the opportunity for a couple of storms to develop out by themselves as well. And, you know, we're seeing that. This is not just one little line that's coming through. Now, they have issued a special marine warning for the storms coming out of central and then pushing into the southern sides of Brevard County. So it's not strong or severe over inland areas like the Ogallie area, Palm Shores, and then drifting across the river towards Indian Harbor Beach. But remember, I talk about this all the time as well, is that the Weather Service doesn't play around with boaters, because you do not want to get caught out in exposed waters when a storm like this is moving through. So they're going to issue these marine warnings well in advance before these storms move in, and they're going to give the boaters the heads up to get back into safe harbor before these storms even come close. So despite the fact that there's not a special weather statement, the threshold for them to issue a special marine warning is lower, just because of the exposed nature of boaters. Having grown up on the West Coast, being a boater in the offshore waters my entire life, I appreciate that, right? You always want to know very quickly, beachgoers as well, right? Not just boaters, but beachgoers as well. By the way, if you know anyone who is along the East Coast beaches for today, they've likely been run inside, but let them know that, again, additional storms are going to impact those areas, you know, for the rest of the afternoon hours. And of course, I say that, and they go ahead and they issue a special weather statement for that cluster. So they fired up the special marine warning first, and now we have a special weather statement. And I want to also be clear, you can clearly see the boundaries of these storms that were either left over from today or the East Coast sea breeze marching in. Those are the green lines that you see. These are outflow boundaries from storms from yesterday, or the East Coast sea breeze marching in, or these storms are pushing these out. And these are all going to be boundaries that will aid in additional development, right? When those boundaries collide, they typically develop storms. If you notice that these two boundaries are colliding right here, and that's why this storm has propagated and has become a little bit stronger. So, new special weather statement in effect. Let's get you the information on that. It's going to be for the Palm Bay, Melbourne, Satellite Beach, Malabar, and any Atlantic areas. A little bit more potent, 3/4 inch size hail, 50-mile-an-hour winds. Both criteria are just below seeing a severe thunderstorm. So how about that? Linda says, yeah, that's what's coming. It looks nasty. Yep, no doubt about it, Linda. So again, special weather statement next 20 minutes. Let me bring on the actual bulletin from the National Weather Service. Strong thunderstorm impacting Brevard, East Central Osceola counties through 2:30. Wind gusts of 50 and some penny-sized hail. All right, wind gusts of 50 and pennies. Moving again southeast at 10, a little bit slower movement. Again, this storm is right over the radar site. So I'm going to bring on our composite NextRad product. Be a little bit easier for you guys to see the true nature of that storm. Again, when it's right over the radar, it becomes a little bit more of an issue. Let's track that storm. Ogallie, 221. So you're getting a little bit of activity already in Ogallie, but a little bit beefier part of that cell. Again, lighter rain, rumbles of thunder in Ogallie right now, but give it to about 221, and then it will cross the river and into the Barrier Islands, where it is likely to impact any Atlantic, if I can move it and get myself out of the way, at about 247. So again, you know, I can literally down to the second, based on the forward speed, we can take a look at your individual areas. So any Atlantic north to Indian Harbor Beach, A1A, likely to be impacted by that special weather statement in about 31 minutes. Again, slower movement, just around 10 miles an hour with that. Then there's a second part of that cell that we'll track, and that's the one that's heading towards Melbourne. So again, you can see the lightning beginning to develop along and west of I-95, and now it comes into Melbourne. So again, slow movement. If it's only going 10, it's going to be about a half hour to get towards Melbourne. Won't be the case towards June Park. Give it about 15 minutes. And eventually Melbourne Beach all the way down here about 3 o'clock. So again, about 50 minutes away or so for it to begin to get into the Melbourne Beach area. And again, that is a strong storm capable of producing winds of 50 miles an hour and maybe even some penny-sized hail. So real close, right? Blue Goose, I appreciate the Blue Goose is a hyper of the channel, and I love it. Friend of the channel, friend of our live streams, always with kind words and nice things to say, and I appreciate that, Blue Goose. But I do appreciate you also, you know, what we're trying to do here, guys, right? We've invested a lot of time and, you know, financial resources and infrastructure to try and bring you guys what we think is a very solid presentation. We continue to improve our camera network. We continue to add cameras, and that's going to be the goal of CFLW throughout the year. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor of the channel, if you're interested in partnering and discussing a potential camera, you can find the information at the bottom of your screen if you would like to. It's mymediamundo@gmail.com. We have another email address as well, CFLW Live. That'll get to us as well. You can find that email address in the description of the channel. And one of the sponsors of the channel is the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. You got an insurance claim, it gets convoluted, there's something that you're not sure of, reach out to Bobby Lean and the team by going to leanomnilaw.com. You can also scan that QR code. That will take you to their website. Check them out. Great friends of the channel. They've been a sponsor of the channel since day one, and we appreciate them being such stewards of the channel as well. All right, so this special weather statement that is drifting out of Orange County. We'll go for the next 3 minutes. So it's going to go until 2:15. Let's see what this storm really looks like right now. Still strong over Lake Jessup, 46. Now it's going to creep up towards 415 in the Osteen area. It really looks like potentially, just based on observing this, that we're seeing some of the strongest part of this activity getting north of where the special weather statement is. So my curiosity would be, once this expires or close to it in the next few minutes, will the Weather Service reissue a special weather statement for southern Volusia County for the activity right now over Deltona, Orange City, and Lake Helen? Remember, for them to issue a special weather statement, the minimum threshold for that is generally winds of 40 miles an hour. Now, we had close to that at the airport, right? We had a 35, a 39. So that's come up a little bit. That 39 report was at 158. So it just happened about 10 plus minutes ago. So based on the fact that this had a 40, I'm not going to be shocked if the Weather Service goes ahead and issues another special weather statement for this northern cluster. We'll see how it plays out. But it does look like some of the northern side is taking over as far as intensity. Doesn't mean this is not a nasty part of the cell right over Oviedo, Chuliota, heavy rainfall, ponding of roadways, maybe some low-lying areas catching a fair amount of water and filling up fairly quickly. And again, a lot of lightning with this as well. New special weather statement for southern sides of coastal Volusia County. Looks like this sneaks into portions of Brevard County. Again, as these storms roll offshore, they're going to be issuing these special marine warnings, mainly for the winds. But the biggest thing, too, is just the lightning. You got to get the beachgoers and the boaters inside before these storms roll offshore. You don't want to be caught in exposed waters with that kind of lightning activity. It's never any fun. Hey, Mike, good to see you. Lots of thunder and lightning in Oak Hill. Appreciate that. Port St. John did get clobbered yesterday. Alarms going off for me now. Yeah, Linda, that's going to be for that special weather statement. Right? Not severe, but a special weather statement. And again, kind of like yesterday, we're seeing the strongest storms develop near I-4 and then pushing their way east and southeast. Doesn't mean that there aren't a few cells trying to regenerate out west, but they're more clustered. I don't want to call them garden variety, but they're more typical, sea breeze storms that we get here in June across Central Florida. Appreciate the over 800 people tuning in right now. Thank you so much for that support. Another way to help the audience out is to hit that like button for me if you don't mind. It's a real quick thing, but it really supports the channel. If you want to subscribe to the channel, again, a live-only channel covering these storms in real time, have those notifications on, because if I'm on, there's a reason why to check in. Again, this special weather statement right now for generally Brevard County, it sneaks into Osceola, but it's south of Holopal, north of Yeehaw Junction. 91 on the map is the turnpike. So, again, a cluster of storms down 192, down 441, down the turnpike. And this is pretty widespread right now. East to southeast at 12, 3/4 inch sized hail, so that's pennies, and 50-mile-an-hour winds. And again, nice cluster of storms here right near the radar site. Over 85 lightning strikes at this point in time. And again, if you guys are interested in sponsoring the channel and having your advertising on the screen, just like Bobby Lean's team, let us know by emailing us, mymediamundo@gmail.com. Let's talk. Thunderstorms right now, back over Lake Wales. It's going to be kind of a rough go through portions of Polk County. High and dry again for my friends in Manatee and Sarasota, in Hillsborough and Pinellas counties. A couple of scattered showers in far eastern sides of Hillsborough, back into Pasco. Yes, Dade City and Zephyr Hills, a little bit there. A little bit of scattered rain. A little bit of a decent storm. We were watching that one up 200 south of the Ocala area, but across 75. Again, 20 lightning strikes. More of a typical thunderstorm than what we would see. Now, as we reset at 2:15, and the reason why I say that is because now this special weather statement has been allowed to expire from the National Weather Service. So at least initially, they did not feel that this part of the cell was producing winds of at least 40 miles an hour. It's certainly not producing 60, at least from what I've been seeing, and it's not producing inch-sized hail. And those are the only two criteria to get a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, you can notch it down to 40-mile-an-hour winds and some quarter-inch size hail, and they could issue a special weather statement. Looking at the velocity products here, just kind of keeping an eye on things. Just making sure that nothing is getting squirrely. I'm not concerned about any of that. And again, what this would be is there rotation with these storms. The risk for any kind of tornadic activity is very low for today. It's even lower than yesterday. If there were to be a brief spin up, it's likely to happen along the coast, the East Coast, because you get the friction difference. These storms coming off of land hit those smoother waters, and they have inherent rotation as that happens. Now, initially, the storms that have already moved offshore, I don't see anything. It's very clustered near the radar site. Again, greens are going towards the radar site, reds are going away. So these right here are actually going in one direction, right? Because from the radar beam, so these winds are all going this way, all going south and east. So nothing that I've seen here. I mean, even this, you know, there would always be a little something to kind of watch out for here, but even that wind is really weak. So looking okay so far. It's always something to keep an eye out for, right? Always something to monitor. When I put this into motion, this is what I mean by our boundary collisions. You can see that the radar picks up on the outflow boundaries of either the sea breeze or the cluster of thunderstorms. So likely, as these two boundaries continue to collide, additional storms are likely to develop south of here because the air is not as congested to the south. We haven't had thunderstorms here today yet. This is just much more typical activity north. I wouldn't expect that part of this cluster to strengthen. It would be south of the boundaries. So we could watch out for an opportunity here for some stronger storms to get going. And again, you know, moisture being fed in from the south, and we don't have any activity south. So that's an area where additional storms could develop in the next half hour or so. And that storm, Mike, for you there over Oak Hill, yeah, that got going pretty good. It's really picked up a lot of lightning. Moving off the coast there, Oak Hill, Bethune Beach areas, places like that. And we'd always check out these special marine warnings as well. Haulover Canal, Klondike Beach, Shiloh, Oak Hill, Scottsmore, all included within that special marine warning. And for this special marine warning in Brevard County, it's Eau Gallie, Melbourne, Indian Harbor Beach, and Melbourne Beach. What we got going on here? Mountain, Central, Elevators, more. Welcome to the Storm Squad. Let's get the hearts out in chat for Mountain, Central, Elevators, more. First of all, I love the name. I have to assume it has to do with the business. I would love to hear from you. Let me know. But the newest member of the Storm Squad, thank you so much for becoming a member of the channel. Appreciate you very much. Hope you're well. You now have access to custom badges and emojis and exclusive member-only videos, short videos in between these live streams. From time to time, I'll jump on, say hi to you guys, discuss my thoughts behind the scenes, when I think I might next be on, just kind of give you guys an idea as to the situation. So, welcome to Mountain, Central, Elevators, more for being the newest member of the channel. Appreciate everyone tuning in. Wondering if the western storms could get stronger if this earlier energy took up lots of the energy. Nautilus, that's my general thinking as well. Typically speaking, in an environment like this, these early storms kind of rake the atmosphere a bit. You're going to have to get things to clear out a little bit for the redevelopment of anything that's more than just your common storms, your traditional storms. It doesn't mean that the coverage of the storms won't fill back in. It doesn't mean that we won't have good storm chances west of I-44 today, but it's just, will they get organized, right? This was a very marginal day anyway. When I woke up this morning, and as of last night, I woke up this morning, there was not even a risk of severe storms from the Storm Prediction Center, but I started looking at some of the indices this morning. They were very marginal. And then just before they issued the one severe thunderstorm warning, just before I went on, they did upgrade the central and the eastern sides of our area to a marginal risk. So that's what you see right now. It's a 1 out of 5 on the scale, right? We're not expecting there to be extremely organized storms. We're not expecting there to be a lot of them. But just like the storm that pulsed up over portions of Orange County and Orlando metro area, it's not out of the question that 1 or 2 could become severe. Again, the threat for rotating storms is even lower than what it was yesterday. Never want to say it's 0, but it's quite low on this Saturday afternoon. Excessive rainfall outlook continues to provide the opportunity. And you can notice that is out towards 75. So still could see some redevelopment there. I'm going to check in with local storm reports, make sure we haven't had anything reported. Wouldn't expect it from what we've had today, but again, it's always just a good idea to keep an eye out for that. Temperatures will always be a good point to look at as well. So temperatures on the board right now, and I'll put on the radar for you guys too, so we can take a look at radar and temperatures together. So here's my point, right? If you're going to try and fire up stronger storms again, you're going to start with a 75-degree temperature in Orlando, rain cooled at MCO 79, Leesburg is 77. Now, you get out to Crystal River, no real storms, 90 degrees. Down towards Spring Hill, 93. We haven't had storms today through central, western, Hillsborough, Pinellas counties. So Tampa, St. Pete's, 90 to 93. But these are the areas where the West Coast sea breeze is not a big factor in the weather today. And it's all areas central and east. So now the question becomes, it's only 2 o'clock. You get enough sun. Winter Garden's not showing you a lot of sun yet to get back into the 80s, upper 80s, and fire off additional stronger storms. That chance to me appears very low in nature as far as really juicing the atmosphere again. That doesn't necessarily preclude, again, thunderstorm development, but the risk for organized storms, in my opinion, right now, continues to be south and east. This is what it looks like over the last 6 hours if you're just tuning in. Again, there's the cluster of storms earlier today. The storms moving across I-4. We had the one severe storm and then the current setup. So we had very early initiation. I'm talking about before 10 a.m. through portions of Citrus and Hernando counties. And again, you can see the temperatures in real time drop. So, even in these areas, Leesburg, hit 87, 88. Hot day, even before lunchtime, but then the storms came in early and have knocked those temperatures back down. Any more thunder headed towards Hunters Creek area later today? It's possible. Water lily, not a necessarily high-end chance, but again, as I think I just mentioned, I think Hunters Creek would be included in this. Can't rule out that potential redevelopment. What I would do if I were you guys, and I've got kids who want to get in the pool, so I'm right with you here, is just continue to monitor the situation through the day. Generally speaking, in the short term, in the Orlando area and west, things are improving, right? Things are getting quieter here, but you can clearly see a few showers and storms getting going. So you always just have to be on your guard, for that additional activity to produce lightning more than anything else. Now, the East Coast is a different story. This is going to be some activity that is likely to impact the East Coast for the coming hours. Again, this part of the cell in Volusia County, it's strong. Lake Helen, Deltona, DeLand. I want to put a storm track on this one because it's about ready to get back into some of the big populated areas. Not that Orange City and Deltona isn't, but now we're getting to I-95, and it is a little bit of a different ball game there. So let's do this track. Not like that. I try and do like a little bit of an arc to this. And we'll go east at about 18 to 20. I believe that was a storm motion. But you get the idea now that even though it's not severe, there's a lot of lightning. 500 lightning strikes. I'll even zoom in here. It's going to be about half that, but still 300-ish lightning strikes in the last 15 minutes from this cell. So beachgoers here in Volusia County, not a great situation. Glencoe 252, New Smyrna, right at the top of the hour. Same thing for Port Orange. Edgewater 303, Ponce Inlet 304, South Daytona Beach 305, and Daytona Beach Shores at 309. And again, we can do street level mapping here if we need to, but you get the idea here down towards Wilbur by the Sea. It's all going to be right around the 3 o'clock hour. Just after, there's Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna, and again, probably as far south as Edgewater. Maybe sneaking towards Oak Hill, but I think that the majority of this activity is Edgewater north. Yes, some of it is, Linda. Good afternoon from Lakeland, Kevin. Hope you're doing well. Miko had a good downpour about 10 to 20 minutes ago. Yep. Certainly clustering towards the East Coast. That would be kind of the headline, if you will, right now. Storms clustering towards the East Coast. If you were just to divide things in half, it's a little bit far out. Let me zoom in a little bit for you guys. If you divide things in half, it's east to southeast right now. So we continue with the special weather statement for the next 3 minutes here. Again, they didn't issue it for very long. Special marine warning as well. Again, this cell is right over the radar, so that's why it looks like it does, but I can tell you it's still very strong over Ogallie and Melbourne. It's sneaking towards Palm Bay and Malabar. The bulk of the heaviest activity right now is still to the west of I-95. It's an interesting little donut right there, but I don't think it's anything to worry about. I bet you that is a very SLC right now, a scary looking cloud, but the wind profile with it is weak. There's just not a lot of anything there, but that likely is a very low hanging base to our cloud with some very broad spin. If you notice, I saw that on the reflectivity, which is why I stopped and I wanted to check it out. So you can see right where we have this batch of green, if I bring back on the radar, there's a void in the radar right there. Always worth watching. You know, what I wouldn't want to see is this part get really strong and produce some lightning and then try and kind of wrap back in around that broad circulation. Something to watch for. But the wind profiles are weak right now. But that's what I'm doing in real time, right? This is all analysis in real time. So every so often something will catch my eye. I'm going to put on the brakes and say, look, let me look at this real quick. Because the thing that I want to do, and part of the reason why we're doing this channel, is to give you guys as much heads up as possible. You know, if you guys have been watching the channel, you know, many times we've been analyzing a storm together, and as we've done that, they've issued a severe thunderstorm warning or a tornado warning. And that's kind of the idea of this, is to give you guys that heads up. See if we had any winds out of the airport and the Weather Service office. Not so far. Again, the radar is still basically saying the bulk of this storm, the worst part of it, is still west of I-95. So this special weather statement is going to expire, but likely, I think they gotta reissue it more than likely here. It hasn't moved much. We've had 23 at the Weather Service office, but they've been east of the worst part of this cell. Again, slow movement south and east right now, guys. If you live farther south of this, this is headed your way. Places like Grant, Valkyria, and Miko and Malabar. Barefoot Bay included in that. Get back over to the chat here. Valerie was talking about something. Canal Grows here. Smoking pork ribs, waiting for the rain. Hey, that's the way to live life right there, man. I'm with you on that. Rumbling in New Smyrna Beach. Here's Valley. Good rains here in Citrus City earlier, or Citrus County earlier. And now it's steamy outside. Boy, I bet it is, Valerie. Appreciate you letting me know what's happening in my home county of Citrus County. Thank you very much. So again, in Orlando, things have certainly quieted down. You still have some leftover, light rain or just some overcast skies, but improving conditions here. This is a good cluster of storms. Not a special weather statement, but stormy up in the southern central sides of Volusia County. This is working its way towards the Daytona Beach area, Port Orange, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna. This special weather statement, the majority of that storm has now worked its way offshore, and hopefully all the boaters are safely back into port, because that one has a nasty one. They have reissued this special weather statement. Again, this is why we do this. Looking at this, the trends of this storm, nothing to me said that it was weakening any one bit. So it's not shocking whatsoever that they have reissued that special weather statement. And these storms in general along this boundary, and again, I've mentioned this earlier, the storms along this boundary are the ones that are likely to take over and get the strongest. Now they're moving into South Pole, moving into South Osceola, South Brevard. So they'll be leaving Central Florida, sooner than later. But that's the area that I would expect there to be the best chance for the strongest storms in the shorter term. Still, again, could redevelop an isolated shower storm, but you notice that these storms are struggling, right? We talked about the overcast skies. We talked about the cooler temperatures. There's just not as much juice for these guys to get going. And all of the collisions at the lower levels right now where the sea breeze boundaries are occurring along and east of I-4. Northwest Dade County could use that rain. I hear you. So many areas. I mean, anytime I've come on lately, there is the, hey, Rusty, we could use that. Send it this way, folks. And I get it. I truly do. Again, it doesn't matter where you are in Florida right now, you're still under either abnormally dry conditions or an all-out drought. We're still running that gambit, but we haven't, even though it's been wetter lately in some portions of the peninsula and especially up in the Panhandle, we're still running such a deficit from earlier this year. It's going to take some time for that to get any better. We'll go back over to our live cameras here. Again, Lake Buena Vista, you can still see, now this camera is looking to the south, so it is picking up that cluster of storms south of the Kissimmee area from this cam. This is only 1 mile from the Magic Kingdom. It's a great camera to have and to utilize when there are storms near the attractions because, again, we're going to get a real-time analysis of what's happening. And so many folks at any point in time of the day are out in this area of Central Florida, minding their business, having some fun, not paying attention to the weather, and I don't blame them. So we want to have this camera, up and running and keeping an eye on things. And we have other cameras down in south central sides of Orange County as well. Live look to Winter Garden. If you guys know where that is the western side of Orange County. This camera's looking off to our west. It's kind of our, our surveillance out to the west, our Centurion, I guess you want to say, keeping an eye on storms here. Now, clearly, we're seeing a little bit of blue sky return along the horizon. That's all the way out in Lake County. But overall, conditions are improving in the western side of Orange County. Now, we're hitting the 2:30 hour here. This could still lead to the potential for a little redevelopment with a shower or a storm, but notice everything is pretty stratiform cloud coverage-wise. You're not getting any big development cumulus-wise vertically here. So in the short term, not likely to see anything getting popped off from any of that, and really just a better, mid-afternoon in the Orlando area. Conway Cam is keeping an eye on that stronger storm to its east, moving away. Again, that's the storm that's in Volusia County right now that is headed towards places like Daytona Beach and the Ormond Beach areas down towards New Smyrna. So again, if you have anyone who lives along the East Coast there or they've been at the beach today, tell them to turn around, look off towards the inland areas, and that's what's headed their way at this point in time. Yeah, I appreciate everyone doing those quick things, liking, subscribing, sharing. Appreciate those who are members of the channel as well. We had a brand new member join earlier today. Appreciate that. That was Mountain Central Elevators More. Probably just gave them enough advertising, if that's a business, to pay for the membership a few times over, right? Thank you. Share your chain with your brother in Jacksonville. I appreciate that. I mean, let me be clear about something. Your boy didn't have lunch today, okay? That's my fault. I probably should have before I jumped on. But now you all are talking about food. And now it's 2:30 and I haven't had lunch. So just share it with me or, make me more jealous. That's fine. Just throwing that out there, by the way, though. But again, totally my fault. Should have had it earlier. Just wasn't very hungry. And now I'm paying the price. All right, big perspective. A couple of clusters of storms to watch. First one again up here. They never issued the special weather statement. I thought it was close. We had the 40 at the airport in Sanford. I thought it was close. But again, if we're splitting hairs, now we're getting a report out of the land area of 25. Again, that's not going to be special weather statement criteria. I'm more concerned about just the practical nature of this storm and the fact that it's a Saturday in June, and now we're heading to the world's most famous beach and other areas that are likely to be impacted by this. So this is my biggest concern, right? That as this storm propagates east and northeast, and it has been moving north of east, that as it gets into these areas, we want to make sure everyone is aware of what's coming. Again, just zooming into this 15-minute time frame, still over 200 lightning strikes. That's the 415, by the way. The Osteen area is in here, smaller community, but you can see the street level mapping where Osteen is. Lake Ashby Shores, I believe, is on 415 as well, if my memory serves me. So there are some communities here along 415, and they're getting hammered. Has some torrential downpours right now in that area. Cross 44, Samsula, places like that. And then up the road, Glencoe, New Smyrna, you see the times of arrival based on the track. Ponce Inlet, and Daytona just after 3 o'clock. So that's more of a practical storm. I don't expect it to be damaging, but it's June and it's heading to coastal Volusia County. This one is still an interesting storm here. Looks like it's elongated itself more. Now again, and if you notice this new one, I think this is even a third one now. I think they redrew the polygon, but it's basically a south mover now. If we take a look at this, you see how it's southeast at 25, but this polygon extends a lot more south than it does east than it used to. Still Palm Bay, Melbourne, Malabar, in Atlantic, Kenansville. Winds of 50, quarter-inch size hail. Good news there. First statement, 3/4 inch size hail. That was pennies. That's marginally damaging. You don't want to get penny hail. You don't really want to get nickels, but pennies are close. But now the hail potential has come down. Again, we can always track where there might be a hail core within this. Since we haven't done that yet, let's do that now. So this is going to be hail size. Now, heavy rain, you can get some congestion with the hail product. But if there were to be some hail, and it plays out, right? My radar is saying, look, 1/4 inch size hail, that's exactly the special weather statement side. It would be on the west side of Palm Bay right now. June Park, Palm Bay, Malabar, Grantville area, west side. Again, street level mapping for you guys. Great. We never want it, but great in a tornadic situation, right? If I need to, we're in a tornado situation, we can get down to street level mapping. I can zoom right in to these streets. There's a cul-de-sac right there, and we can street level map this for you guys, all right? And I can put on the names if I have to. I'm not going to take that step right now with this, but it gives you an idea of what we're capable of, right? With the street level mapping abilities. And the opportunity that there could be some smaller sized hail right there on the western side of some of the communities. And embedded within this, there's another little hail potential as well here. See if there's anything up here. Now we're a little bit further away from the radar site here. So I always take this, I mean, you can even see the last scan. I always take this a little bit more with a grain of salt, especially if it's showing really small hail, because a lot of times it can pick up hail that is suspended in the atmosphere, but it's going to melt before it actually gets to the ground. So what I would say is, if there's anything out of Osteen and Lake Ashby shores, and look, it wouldn't shock me in up Samsula, places like that, if someone comes on the chat and says, yes, I did get the smallest sized hail, but it's not going to be large enough to cause any damage. But it shows you the intensity of that cell, right? It all kind of plays out together. And then we can look at hail tracks as well. So this would be basically the computer saying, okay, look, here's where we've had hail, and here's where the tracks have been, but I don't really see any here. Well, work with me here. Okay, yeah. No real hail tracks, indicative of likely not having anything more than a little bit of pea-sized hail in very isolated spots. All right. Satellite Beach here. Am I going to be able to walk my dog this evening? I would say this. It depends on how late you want to do that. In a general sense, these storms have developed earlier today, and they're going to be out of our hair earlier as well. Now, the East Coast is a spot where we could continue to see some activity linger a little bit deeper, but generally speaking, it's going to be areas south of Volusia County. So, sorry, you said Satellite Beach. I was thinking Orem Beach. Generally speaking, you will still have an opportunity to see some storms through at least sunset. All right. Now, that is a spot where more activity can get going. The worst weather is likely coming through now, where we could see a few additional cells redevelop. And I'm happy to show you guys the high resolution model coming up in a minute so I can impart that. But if you are down in Satellite Beach, it's close, real close to be honest. The models that I have been looking at earlier were trying to push the last storms off of Brevard County between 7 and 8. If that holds together, we still have daylight after 8 o'clock till about 8:45 or so, the answer would be yes. But it is close. Now, if you live up in Volusia County, Flagler County, Orlando, generally speaking, I do expect these storms to be out of here well before sunset this evening. But I appreciate the question. Heavy rain and lightning and frostproof. Thank you, Bob. By the way, frostproof is where my grandparents' family settled back in 1929. How about that? They moved from South Georgia and settled in frostproof, and then moved to Bradenton. So I know that someone was talking about Bradenton earlier. That's where my dad was born and raised. As they say, the Florida roots deep in our family. I'm just swinging into the chat here, guys. Any hurricanes in Florida? No, not right now. If there's any tropical scenario through the rest of the season, I'll be on the channel. Okay, I can guarantee you guys that. Right? This is how this channel actually started, back with Helene and Milton. Started covering that, and then doing this live stream for the daily impact storms. But yes, if you guys have known the channel for a while, anytime that there's any kind of tropical system that could be impacting, we're on live. All right, and obviously I'll give you guys a heads up. But at this point in time, there is no tropical activity expected over the next 7 days. We are in an El Nino. It does typically undercut the total amount of storms that you get in Atlantic hurricane season, but it's generally the Atlantic Basin and the Caribbean that are more hostile. The Gulf and the Western Atlantic Basin just off our East Coast still can be conducive from time to time. And look, it's a long season. There are going to be periods where all the ingredients will come together and we will get storms. It's not as if an El Nino just says, you can put the lid on it, we're done. It's just that the general ingredients, and you got to think of developing tropical storms and hurricanes like having a very complex soup. You got to have all the ingredients in the right amounts to produce these storms. If the ingredients are off a little bit, maybe you get a weak storm. The ingredients really have to come together to get, hurricanes out there, especially major hurricanes. That environment is not going to be as available this year, but it means it's not going to happen from time to time. But here in Florida, we do have to be aware. Now, the one great thing about an El Nino in Florida is that it typically brings the jet stream over our area and provides more moisture-laden air to help to aid in our sea breezes every day. So there is more of a chance of enhancement of our sea breeze storms on a daily basis. Bottom line is it could be a wetter summer because of El Nino, and that's a good thing as dry as we have begun the year. All right, again, so these storms now in Volusia County are beginning to work their way into these areas. Edgewater, New Smyrna, Ponce Inlet. We'll see if they can reach Daytona Beach, but again, we'll provide the sea, especially over New Smyrna right now. So this storm has reached the coast. Lightning embedded within it. Solid lightning count still. If I just zoom in on this area, we're still over 100 lightning strikes. It might be weakening slightly, but you don't want any lightning strikes coming over the coast when you're trying to enjoy the beach. Still a really nasty storm just off of the Oak Hill area. And then this cluster of storms down here, again, as I've mentioned earlier, it's likely to take over. The air is not as raked down south, and these thunderstorms are likely to continue. They have been able to work their way farther east. So now some of the heavier activity has been able to cross I-95. We're getting towards Palm Bay. We're getting down towards the Malabar area. And again, the latest on that particular special weather statement is for a strong thunderstorm till 3 o'clock, the next 14 minutes. Doppler radar tracking a strong thunderstorm near the Camp Holly Fish Camp, southeast at 25, 50s and pea-size hail. Pea-size hail, okay, we can handle that. 50s could still cause some damage. Gusty winds can knock down tree limbs, blow around unsecured objects. And again, Palm Bay, Melbourne, Malabar, in the Atlantic, Kenansville, some of the areas likely impacted by that particular cell. Hey, Frostproof, how you doing? Checking to make sure I put my mic back on. Shout out to Frostproof. Heck yeah. Again, appreciate everyone in the chat. Thanks for taking a quick second, hitting the like button, subscribing to the channel. Again, it's a live only channel. We'll come on, we'll talk about these storms in real time. Once things clear, we'll send you on for the rest of your day. No forecast videos with this. Again, not a forecast channel. This is a tracking impactful weather in Central Florida channel. So have all the notifications on. I'm not going to inundate you guys with notifications of, hey, check out this forecast video or whatnot. If you get a notification from me, it's because I'm on and there's a reason to tune in. All right. So I can tell you, I have all the analytics of this channel. A lot of you are doing that. A lot of you have the all notifications on, and it's a great idea. I think anyone who does will tell you in the chat that, they're not burdened by getting that notification and checking things out. To me, it's just the way, if you want to become a watcher of this channel, to have it, because you could be out about in your day, you got your phone, some severe thunderstorm crops up in Central Florida, I jump on, you get the notification, you jump on the channel and you see what's happening. Hope you get some food soon. We'll see how it goes. I still actually feel okay right now. North Port St. Lucie, when should I be done barbecuing to avoid these storms? Well, here's the problem, my friend, is that I wish I could sit here and I could tell you, right, I can track these storms for you down into Port St. Lucie and then you're going to be fine. Meaning that you've got this length of time. However, you can clearly see what's happening. Do you see the sea breeze with this green line? Do you see it marching on shore? Maybe you've even felt a little bit of a wind shift in this area as the sea breeze has moved on. You notice how thunderstorms are developing down the coast as the sea breeze marches inland, and there's even a little bit of moisture developing over your head right now. The opportunity for you to get a few storms imminently is not out of the question. Now, the better cluster of storms may yet to arrive from your north, but we're in an environment right now, and I already mentioned this, how moisture-laden the atmosphere is. It's not going to take long for these storms to fire up. I mean, can you imagine me sitting here saying, let's track this, right? This is just not one of those days where here comes a cold front or a single outflow boundary to just follow those storms in real time. This is what we're getting today. They're bam, 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 bam. Some of them are clustering up and becoming stronger. Again, I'll mention it one more time, or I'll just keep mentioning it. This area is the most conducive for additional stronger storms. The boundaries are down here. The atmosphere is not as raked as what we've had earlier. So generally speaking, these are just going to continue to propagate south and east with the strongest opportunity. Now, again, it doesn't mean that in these areas we won't get a few additional storms to redevelop. Out towards the west, with the West Coast sea breeze not into play for today, not really a situation where I expect a lot of storms. But this is the area that I would anticipate for the strongest activity to continue to get going through the remainder of the afternoon hours. Punta Gorda, I mean, look, if you got a question, I'm happy to answer it. Typically speaking, we don't cover Punta Gorda on a daily basis with the channel, but I'm happy to try and help out when we have breaks in the action. I'm always going to be focused in on the storms in Central Florida first. That's a guarantee. But if we have a little bit of a break and I can help out friends of the channel who are watching and you got a question, I'm happy to do that. Is today a bust in Alafaya? I mean, I'm not sure you can call it a bust, considering that when we started the day, there wasn't even a risk of severe storms. So I don't know if it is a bust, but is it going to be quiet from here on out? Certainly a possibility. Still raining pretty good in Melbourne. Yeah, I wanted to get back into the storm, so thanks for letting me know. Melbourne good, O'Galley Bourne here, nice. We'll appreciate it. Yeah, this is a good storm. Again, special weather statement, winds of 50. I do have, just got to check, make sure temperature's on. So the Melbourne Weather Service office has not reported a significant wind gust of more than 23 in the last hour, 22 in Sebastian. I'm just going to bring on the local storm reports. Make sure that nothing here has cropped up. Okay, we have one. Now, I bring this up, a couple of reasons why. First of all, remember, because of Cape Canaveral, we have a lot of reporting stations here, right? We have the Space Force, as well. And so one of the USSF wind sensors, Tower 300, again, a lot of reporting stations here, winds of 41 miles an hour, elevation 54 feet, and that was at 1 o'clock, so a little bit earlier. Couple here to look at in Orlando. This is an interesting one here. So thunderstorm damage. Delayed report, train spotter reports large trees blocking Hempel Avenue at around 1:03. So this is part of when they issued the severe thunderstorm warning in Orange County. If you guys were tuning in there, jumped on right about that time. And then at the executive airport, a 43 mile an hour wind, right? So I can check in when we get official storm reports. We can look at those as well here. And so as we see storms come through from time to time, I'm going to bring on this product and just kind of keep an eye out for that. Potentially there will be one or two that we don't see in real time. Wind is definitely blowing and the rain is falling here in Palm Bay. Thanks, Jeremy. It's a solid storm. It's not high end, but it's a good storm. And again, a lot of rain being produced out of it. If we look at the precip rates here, super solid. Anywhere you see blacks or blues, that's rainfall rates of at least 3 inches an hour, but typically it's 4+ in a couple of areas. Whew, that is some good rain. Nearly 6 inches an hour. Even towards Malabar, Grant Valcaria. I mean, it is a coming down, guys. That's your quick flash flooding potential. And that storm's not moving very quickly. That is, you know, you get 5-6 inches in a storm that's moving 10 miles an hour, it's going to dump 3 or 4 inches of rain in a couple of spots if it can hold together. So that is a flood threat situation potential here. Far western populated areas, I will say it does look like the bulk on the street level mapping. It's just clipping some of the communities here on the western side of I-95. I mean, just a few. The Weather Service doesn't care. They'll still issue flash flood warnings for areas that don't have a lot of population. But in a practical sense, some of the heaviest stuff here. Now, get a little bit east. I mean, there's a bullseye of 5 inches right over a community there. Malabar, Palm Bay, West Melbourne, just north of Grant Valcaria, just south of Malabar there, 507. Palm Bay, some decent rain. And again, this is just a snapshot of that. But you can clearly see where the air is much more moisture laden right now. This storm is producing some good rainfall rates across I-95. Same situation now. We have an opportunity for a storm that's going to produce some blinding rain across a major thoroughfare. Always worried about ponding on roadways, folks going too fast, hydroplaning. It all kind of comes together in the summer months. Hopefully everyone's minding their P's and Q's. And I'll just, while we have this product on, I'm going to just look at any low-level rotation. And I just want to update these in real time. Okay. I like it. I don't see anything of consequence in the rotation side of things. Go back over to our reflectivity product then. Power flickering, Palm Bay Jags fan. How about that? Just subscribe. Great to see you, Breezy. Ormond Beach. How about us today? Well, Ormond Beach is right on the edge of seeing a storm right now. Now, typically, with this storm, it's going to miss you to the south. So you live in Ormond Beach, you look off towards the south. As far north as you live, I do expect you to have only a marginal chance for a redevelopment of storms. Okay? If you were just been watching, I do expect the storms to continue to work their way south and east in general. Doesn't mean you can't catch an isolated storm redeveloping, but I would anticipate there to be a much better chance farther south and east that you live. We're seeing a few isolated cells develop back into Marion County, but they've been more garden variety than anything for today, much more typical, and they've been much more isolated in nature as well. That storm is still pretty prolific down here. Again, 3 minutes from the special weather statement expiring. We'll see what the Weather Service wants to do from here. Emerson and Waco in southeast Palm Bay. So Palm Bay Jags fan getting hammered pretty hard. And you can just see it on the old radar there. And this one is not moving as quickly as the other storms. Remember, the movement is only, well, this is southeast at 20. They must have reissued this one because it was southeast at 10 for a bit. So they have picked up some speed. But I got to tell you something. This cell is just kind of also doing this a little bit. Now, the southern extent is taking over some. That's higher reflectivity than what we've seen. If you notice, those fuchsias and those neons are kind of beaming right now. That is an indication that the reflectivity is coming up. Could that be a little bit of a hail core? It's possible. Likely, though, just some significant heavy rain. Again, we'll always keep an eye out on our camera network. We are happy to bring you those live across Central Florida, always adding to those as well. It's one of the big things that we're going to be doing here throughout the summer months is continue to add on for cameras. If you're interested in maybe sponsoring a camera, you can see the information. You can email me at the bottom of your screen, mymediamundo@gmail.com. We can talk about that. You want to be a sponsor of the channel, like the Lean Law Firm, you can do that as well. But it's just a way to, again, continue to bring you guys live coverage, more cameras across a lot of Central Florida. To Lake Buena Vista on the top of your screen, that's the attractions area. Again, it's overcast, but the heaviest storms have moved away. Conway Cam continues to monitor the storm over Volusia County. That's moving away from that camera, but you can clearly see the dark gray sky there. And even in Winter Garden, despite the fact that there's no rain right now, there's a pocket of blue sky, but generally speaking, you're still struggling to clear out. There's still a ton of moisture in the lower levels of the atmosphere. And despite the fact that skies, or the rain is kind of over for the most part for now, the skies have been able to yet to clear in a lot of these areas. So it's just somewhat of a grayer, cooler afternoon across a lot of our areas, I-4 West, even though we haven't had a lot of activity, at least in the last hour or two. Yeah, keep the reports coming, guys. I appreciate that. Let me know what's been happening in your area. Hello, frogs. How are you? Appreciate all of our moderators of the channel. You'll find those in green, or excuse me, in blue. Anything for Sebring? Yeah, I mean, you're going to get some scattered stuff. I mean, that's just north of you right now. Could still see a storm that gets stronger near the Sebring area. With the congested nature of the storms just north of you, that's a little bit lower opportunity right now, to be quite honest. But it's not out of the question to get at least a decent, stronger storm. If nothing else, you're in store for a wetter next few hours here, southern Polk County down towards Sebring and Lake Placid. Okay, so they let that special weather statement go for now. It doesn't mean that in the next minute or two they could reissue, but they've let it expire at least at this point in time. And again, when I talk about juice in the atmosphere, there's a lot of Central Florida right now that has been rain cooled because of this. Now, Leesburg has gone from 77 back up to 82. So because a lot of this activity moved through early, temperatures could climb again in a few spots. Obviously out west, didn't really get the rain today, low to mid 90s. Anywhere south that hasn't got the rain, generally in the low 90s as well. Hot day, a lot of energy with that. Good sea breeze interaction to some of this stuff too. And again, a reminder that you can almost see this little notch of storms. This is our two outflow boundaries interacting. You've got the East Coast sea breeze boundary, and you've got the boundary from these storms. And I'll put that into motion, and you can just clearly follow that as these boundaries continue to merge and move south. This is where all your storm activity is developing here, at least the strongest part of this. There's a lot of congestion off towards the west, and this might eventually kind of choke off stronger activity developing here in Indian River County. But this is what I'm looking for in real time. We can see these boundaries here on the radar, and that's where the storms have become most prolific, especially in spots where, again, we haven't had activity so far today. The storm in Volusia County, it's a good one. They're not going to issue, it looks like, a special weather statement, but watch that storm just very interestingly blow up on the northern side. Look at additional cells right over Daytona Beach, right? Stuff that was not there. And this is, again, I've been reiterating this. We're such a moisture-laden atmosphere. Snap of the finger and you get a cell developing right over your head. It's just the environment, very conducive for this for today. So watch these cells in real time in a few minute time frame. Just absolutely get going. Now, much more lightning in association with the cells over New Smyrna, and they have issued a special marine warning. And again, good reason for them to do that. Special marine warning, New Smyrna Beach, the airport, Edgewater, Ponce Inlet, Bethune Beach areas there. That cell moving offshore, capable of producing some winds close to 40 miles an hour, and a lot of lightning. So boaters, safe harbor, very important. Think ain't what you think. Just came across this channel and sub, wet northeast side of Lake Istapaca. I hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for letting me know. I used to be a storm chaser in Oklahoma and was in Moore Cat 5 in 2013. Well, Breezy, did you know that I was a meteorologist in Oklahoma City in 2013 at KOCO, the ABC affiliate? I was there for 7 years, from 2007 until 2013, and the Moore and then the El Reno EF5s, and I'm calling El Reno an EF5 because even though they categorized in EF3, it was an EF5. Those are my last 2 major tornado outbreaks to cover in Oklahoma City. So I hope maybe you put 2 and 2 together and go, I kind of recognize that guy. Yes, it's 12 years later, 13 years later, but I recognize him. But yes, I was a meteorologist in Oklahoma City for 7 years, and from Florida. And so that was enough. Wanted to get back home. But the point bringing that up is I've seen it all, guys. I really have. In a 25-year career on television, I've worked in the East, the Midwest, Southeast. Haven't worked out West, but I don't really care for fog anyway. But when it comes to severe storms, when it comes to hurricanes, localized severe weather, tornadic activity, our sea breeze storms, our tropical weather, you can trust that I have the experience in all of that. So appreciate you guys putting that trust in me and joining us on this channel. And hopefully we can continue to build what is a fantastic community. Again, this channel is relatively new, and appreciate everyone tuning in right now. And it's great viewership. And if you want, again, live information, impactful weather in Central Florida, you found your home. Thanks for liking, thanks for subscribing, and thanks for jumping in the chat. Again, the reason why I do this is because the biggest benefit that we both get between television and doing this is our interaction in real time. I can look at our chat. I've got our chat in our live stream right here outside of the screen. I'm watching what you guys are saying, trying to answer all those questions. We have great moderators in the chat as well. If you have a question and I miss it, our moderators will be able to answer that question for you. They're listening. There's plenty of those as well. And we're all just kind of creating this great community here in Central Florida. You did? I did recognize you. There you go. I bet you have, Breezy. I mean, in the 7 years I was there, I did. I mean, obviously, to wrap things up in 2013 with the Moore tornado and the El Reno tornado were significant. And for those who don't know, when we're done with this live stream, jump on YouTube and search for those. And if you want to see higher end stuff, and even some of my coverage is on there as well. So if you guys are interested in, what's Rusty's background, what kind of severe storms has he covered, just Google that or Google my name, and you'll see some of that stuff. Thank you, Article VOG. Local is so much better. Hey, Don Ocala in the house. I was born in Ocala, actually. I know I keep mentioning these things to you guys, but I want you guys to understand the local aspect I have to Central Florida. I was raised in Crystal River, but back in the day, there were no maternity wards in Citrus County. My mom, my dad, they literally had to go to Ocala to find a maternity ward. So I'm not that old, but you get the idea. But yeah, I was born in Ocala, but raised in Citrus County. Reno was a nightmare. Oh, excellent. Well, my parents still live in Citrus County. So, and from time to time, they actually go to Ocala for dinner and whatnot as well. I know I'm getting off at a tangent here, but again, appreciate all the interaction with the chat. And this is what this is all about as well. So back over to what I think is the strongest storm right now in the southeast side of Brevard County. Suntree, Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor Beach, Melbourne, Palm Bay. There's still a lot of lightning with this storm, guys. Again, there's no special weather statement, but you've got over 200 lightning strikes. Palm Bay Jags fan was talking about just how hard the rain was coming down, so you get the idea of the proliferation of these storms. And I'll expect these storms to continue to hold together as they march to the south and east. If we were to kind of quadrant out our activity right now, if I bring on the old telestrator again, if I were to kind of just do like this, you can clearly see, if we kind of use south of Orlando as quadrant, quietest north and west, or actually quietest south and west, second quietest north and west, a little bit more congested, but more than just traditional storms in the northeast, and the most active weather is south and east. And that's where everything is pulling, guys. Everyone's pulling south and east, so it's going to be southern Polk, it's going to be Osceola, it's going to be Brevard, Indian River counties, and areas south and east from there, like Sebring, Lake Placid, St. Lucie areas, that will see the better chances for at least some stronger storms. Again, marginally severe. When I woke up this morning, there was not even a severe weather risk. That severe weather risk came a little bit earlier. And to be clear about that too, you can have severe weather in a day that the Storm Prediction Center doesn't issue a severe weather risk, and it can be vice versa. We can have what we call severe clear day, a day where there is the potential for some severe weather, but just never materialized. Is there a flash flood warning for Palm Bay yet? No. Now, there could be a flood advisory. I do need to do something real quick to bring that on. So I'm going to check that out. It's a different part of my system. So while we do that, we'll just go to our camera network real quick, because it's a good point to follow. Again, attractions area, you're looking pretty good right now. Would not expect there to be a lot of additional storms here in that spot, at least in the short term. To answer your question, Palm Bay Jags fan, there is no flood advisory whatsoever. But could it lead to that eventually? Absolutely. Hello, Charles. Good afternoon, Mr. Rusty, CEO host. I love it. Hey, Dolores, how are you? St. Petersburg in the house. Expect the internet down in my part of Palm Bay. Gerald getting a good downpour right now? Yeah, Gerald, just let us know where you're viewing from. Appreciate it. So that's Lake Buena Vista. One more quick look at Winter Garden. Again, you can even see here on the bottom of your screen, you notice Winter Garden, there's a little bit more development of a couple of thicker clouds out there. It's just kind of the environment that we're in. Not expecting things to really clear out in short term, but what's the opportunity for that to actually become strong again? I think it's going to be quite low, but still some nasty storms in some of our area. All right. So again, just reloaded the system to get into this. So when there's flood advisories, they come in the county by county. Notice that there's special weather statements that we're going to get into, but to answer your question, there are no flood advisories, or if there is a flash flood warning, that'll appear in my radar system like that. So there's no flood issuance of any kind right now across Central Florida. There is a new special weather statement, right? So the Weather Service basically saw this cell, and they have it moving more east than anything. They still expect it to propagate south, but now they have included a lot more of central and southern Brevard County in this new special weather statement that is going to go until 3:45. Now, the movement of that is east at about 13 miles an hour. 50-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-inch size hail. And again, not quarters, but quarter-inch. Palm Bay, Melbourne, Sebastian, Vero Beach, Satellite Beach, some of the areas that are included in this new special weather statement. Let's get you the bulletin itself right now. Strong thunderstorm impacting Indian River, southeastern Brevard County through 3:45. Thunderstorm 7 miles west of Barefoot Bay. That's the Mico area, moving east at 15. 50s and pea size hail. 50s and peas, right? Certainly still it looks like this is the strongest part of the cell. Let's track this out, all right? Already a little bit of activity near the Mico area. But look at all that lightning. We're up to nearly 300 lightning strikes. It's tracking east towards Mico. only at 13 miles an hour. So we're going to get some nasty weather ahead of this time frame, but here's what I would say. And let me just kind of state this. Palm Bay, Malabar South, coastal areas, down towards Miko, Sebastian. The deeper into this 3 o'clock hour we go, the weather's just going to get worse. All right? Notice that that line is sharpening up a little bit. Anytime we start to see that, there's your outflow boundary again, right? Right along the areas that we've been discussing the last hour or two. Right along this interaction of the thunderstorm outflow boundary and the East Coast sea breeze, this is where things are getting a little bit squirrelier right now. Just with wind. I think wind's the biggest threat. But as this line sharpens up, I'm telling you right now, the wind profile is picking up. Hey, spamming of my chat is not going to get you answered. If there's a moderator, can we get rid of that spam, please? Spam. Look, we have a very very cordial chat here. Spamming is not gonna get you any good. So, I mentioned this, right? I mentioned where this line of storms is. You see these brighter pinks? This is what I'm talking about. This wind profile right here is picking up. Now you have surface winds of over 50 miles an hour. And I'm telling you right now, these winds are almost ground truth. So we're picking up now nearly severe thunderstorm criteria winds. Just west of I-95, far, far southern Brevard County, almost into Indian River County. And all I had to do, I'm telling you, is look at that line sharpen up. Because when that happens, that wind profile within that southern part of that storm is getting stronger. And I can show you that too. If I go back over to the velocity product, you're talking about, well, Rusty, well, what do you mean? Well, if we're far enough from the radar, the beam gains elevation away from the radar site. Maybe we're up a few thousand feet, and a 60-mile-an-hour wind isn't going to translate to a surface wind of 60 miles an hour. But when I show you guys, because the Melbourne radar is not that far away, and now we're only about 1,000 feet up, that is going to translate much easier to a surface-based wind of that magnitude, right? You know, and even 3,000 feet is low levels. You know, sometimes we're, the beam's 5,000, 10,000 feet up. So close to the radar site, 16 miles away, the beam's about 1,000 feet. Certainly going to be some strong winds here. And it's trying to get over I-95. So now these are really strong winds. If there were to be a new severe thunderstorm warning, it's going to be here. It's close. They may not pull the trigger on it. They might. I'll do a track on this too, by the way. So let me show you here. When we're talking about wind potential that could be damaging, here are the areas. Miko 320, Fellsmere 323, Roseland 326, Sebastian 331, Wabasso 344, Indian River Shores 355, Gifford 357. If it holds together, Vero Beach 402. Right, got to hold together, but if it does, everything's kind of sinking off to the south and east for that. So that's where we have the strongest winds right now. Special marine warning is up. I'm going to drop that just because it's overlaying some of our other information. Hopefully boaters have heeded the cause and they are inside. So let's drop that. Thank you, Terry. I am Michael. Yep. Absolutely. Media Mundo is a channel. You can find the link to the description of this channel. But yes, I am. We are back up and running. We took a few months off to completely redo both channels. If you have been watching CFLW for a while, you know this is a completely new technical format. A lot more is coming. We were even working behind the scenes this morning, building out additional graphics and everything. We want to have this, humming smooth, but a lot of information in real time, right? So our camera network, it's growing. We can show 6+ cameras on screen at one time. So lot of other things we can do. We can put the cameras on the map. There's so many other things, that we'll be able to show you guys. Some of that's available right now, some that we're still working on, but, we just continue to improve the channel. When we get into a situation like this, a lot of times I'm just really focused on the storms, but we want to continue to obviously, keep you guys up to date with other areas, which is why you guys are seeing these cameras and that opportunity. So yes, doing all of that as well. No rain here in South Lakeland. How does the Lakeland forecast look? Any rain? You certainly have a possibility, but you're in that southwest quadrant that we kind of boxed out, where if you catch a shower, it is likely to be fairly quick, probably not heavy, and that chance is probably now down to 30% or less. You can see that as I've been on the air the last few hours, that any of the storm activity here has just not really been able to get back together. And it's, again, overcast skies. Temperatures were cool because of the rain, and I don't expect much, to answer your question. So chance for a shower storm, yes. Appreciable rainfall, probably on the lower side. This storm is still going pretty good up in Daytona Beach. I know there was someone on the chat earlier who was talking about Ormond Beach. Well, again, these showers have developed north right along the US 1 A1A corridor. They're swinging slowly east. This is the radar over the last half hour. Again, watch how these things just kind of bubbled up. So much moisture in the atmosphere, so quick to be able to develop there. Storms now back down to Edgewater, New Smyrna Beach. That's where the lightning is. Not a great 3 o'clock hour across a lot of our coastline, especially Volusia and Brevard counties. Hopefully after this, it will continue to improve a bit. Again, a spotty shower here and there. This cell west of Ocala has come up a little bit more lightning here with this one, but still just more of a traditional storm for the June months than anything. You will notice, again, if I go this far out, there's still some activity across I-10. It's not going to get here today, though. Tonight, just like it did last night, as some weaker showers and storms, it could, but the severe weather is not going to. So again, south and east, that's where we have the strongest storm activity at this point in time. Back down into Brevard County, 50-mile-an-hour winds and some quarter-inch size hail here. Storms have kind of really conglomerated in the southern sides of Osceola County. Sea breeze, you're getting a storm. Lake Placid, that got hammered yesterday, like 4, 5, 6 inches of rain in portions of Lake Placid. They're getting more downpours again here. So it is getting wet in our southern interior sections. And again, this storm here, most concerned for the wind. So if we do have anyone who lives in the Mickle area, notice that again, even south, the south winds feeding in that cell. Look at that cell lift north, right over the Mickle area. Now that is a spot where you can get some rotation with storms, because now you have storms that are going in completely different areas from each other and they're coming together. And you notice for a very short time on the radar, we did have a very broad spin. Nothing, again, tornadic, but if you were to live in this area and you look outside, you would probably see some very broad rotation, if not nothing else, lowering in the sky, right? Maybe a shelf cloud and what I call SLCs. Scary looking clouds, right? A lot of that going on right here, because just west of there's a lot of wind energy. So near this broad circulation, look, the winds are really weak, right? Not going to have anything bad there, but straight line winds west of I-95 are still over 50 miles an hour. Again, even pushing close to 60. There are certain parts of that cell that are teetering on severe thunderstorm criteria. Thanks, Michael. Appreciate you. Really heavy in Davenport. Yeah, you're getting a good downpour in Davenport right now. Where's Davenport? Where am I? Here we go. But I would expect it to just be in and out pretty quick. Just going to bring on the composite radar. That storm is so close to the radar site, it can undercut some of the activity west. It's all pretty light here, though. Oh, hang on a second. I do apologize. That's not live. That's live. Yeah, I don't see much. Again, I can't rule out that you're going to catch an isolated shower storm. Anything else organized, though, not likely to be the case. Little cells popped up here in southern Sumter County, east of 301. A little bit of lightning with that. But again, if anyone lives in this part of Brevard County, I'd love to hear from you guys. Don says thunder southwest of Ocala, on and off. Put it in your vocab, Don. SLCs, baby. Oh, sorry about that, guys. I was reading the chat. Didn't put the radar back on. And I love the conversation going on in the chat as well. Yeah, there's some good storms up at the Panhandle. Some of them are severe. Yeah, rain redeveloping over Milton. Remember now, guys, that they have issued this special weather statement now even as far north as Vieira. So there is, just like we saw when it hit coastal Volusia County, storms are now developing north right along the immediate coast. So additional cells getting into Vieira North and Suntree. Again, good rain over Satellite Beach, Indian Harbor, Palm Shores, O'Galley again, Melbourne. Again, that's the radar site. So that's why there's that cone. I can overlay both radars here so you can kind of get an idea. So in reality, that's really heavy rain in red. In the Atlantic, Melbourne, a good chunk of Brevard County right now seeing strong storm. Worst part is still south, Grant, Valcaria, Mico, and then getting into Indian River County. Sebastian, Fellsmere. Again, this is where I'm most concerned about the wind profile right now. If the worst part of the cell with the stronger winds and lightning were to make its way to Mico, be about 347. I mean, Mico's kind of already getting hit right now, to be honest. Something else I can do with my radar system is we can literally look at, I can let it take control and say, show me the top 3 or the top 5 worst storms in our area, okay? So the worst storm right now is the Lake Placid storm, right? Highest reflectivity, that's the DBZs that you see. You get into 50s, upper 50s, lower 60s especially, prolific rain, okay? But no hail out of that, no rotation out of that. That's good news. Second worst cell is actually the one up in Levy County, in the Bronson area. See, I don't even know where this is going to drive me. This is almost kind of like, let's just find out and see. Third worst cell is going to be back over Sebring. Fourth one is going to be near the Yeehaw Junction area. And then we're back over the Sumter County one right now. So there you go. Interesting. Okay. But again, that's based on like reflectivity. If we're talking about winds, for me, it's this one. Oh, I know. Well, you mean Mike Morgan? Yeah. So I know Emily Sutton fairly well. I only met Mike Morgan 1 or 2 times, but Emily and I, we ran into each other more. I actually know some of the meteorologists more at Channel 9 because my wife was actually in television at the time as well, and she worked in Oklahoma City when I did. She was not on air. She was a executive producer, but she worked at the Fox station and then at Channel 9. So I know some of the Channel 9 meteorologists and was very fortunate to have met Gary England and some of the guys there. Going back to my time in Oklahoma City, when you start talking about some Oklahoma City meteorologists, you're talking about some historic names. Folks who live in Oklahoma City, the weather is so important there that some of the meteorologists are, they're legends, to be quite honest. And Gary England would probably be the top of that pyramid. So Joel says it's absolutely pouring here in Mico. Lots of rain, no wind yet in Melbourne from Joey. Some heavy rain now in Ormond Beach. Appreciate all of my Brevard County friends coming in and letting us know. It's a good storm, guys. Real good storm. Just going crazy right now in Grant, Valkyria. Frog strangler kind of rain. Mico getting hammered. Fellsmere getting in on the act as well. And again, really sharp line to our reflectivity, indicative of some very strong winds. You know, this is a no-joke storm. Velocity product, all the winds are still moving in one direction, so I'm very happy about that. These brighter colors, again, are indicative of stronger winds. But it's just a really solid thunderstorm. Now, again, a bit of attenuation at the radar site, so it's going to undercut some of what it really looks like here in Palm Shores. But to show you that, again, on our composite radar look, this is really what the storm looks like. Again, it's great to have that Melbourne radar to really get in because, you know, we're right near the radar site and we can really do some great analysis. But if we want to look at, you know, the storm as a whole, we got to cut out the Melbourne radar real quick and just take a look at the composite. So Pineda, Satellite Beach, Palm Shores, all that red, prolific rain, fair amount of lightning. Nothing too outrageous up here, about 37 lightning strikes last 15 minutes. That's what you see in the top of your screen. It's the view. So as I zoom into an area, whatever this view is, that's the lightning count in the last 15 minutes. So 90 lightning strikes or so for Malabar, Grant, Valkyria in just this view. Obviously, as I zoom out, the lightning count goes up again. And then we'll zoom back into the Mico area, where this area has had about 115 lightning strikes in just the last 15 minutes. But a real solid storm there. Again, appreciate everyone tuning in. Thanks for taking a quick second, hitting the like button for me. Subscribe, live only channel, have the notifications on. You guys want to watch these storms in real time with me. Again, not going to bother you from time to time. That would be about it. Pineda, thank you, Pineda. Jane. Hey, Ed, good to see you, Winter Garden. Ed, it's a spotty shower or a rumble of thunder the rest of the day in Winter Garden. It's not going to shock me if we're completely dry. It also wouldn't fully surprise me if we catch an isolated shower storm, but there's not going to be the strong redevelopment west of I-4 today. More traditional storms could still try and get going in this soupy environment that we have, but the strong storms are likely to continue to work their way south and east as they have done through the afternoon hours. But I appreciate you letting me know, Ed. Thank you very much. Space Coast BBQ, how you doing? North O'Galley area. Appreciate you tuning in. Straight down and pour, no wind. So how about that? And I haven't seen a ton of wind lately. I do have our METAR sites up here. So we have one in the Sebastian area, 22 mile an hour wind. Now look, if we're going to get a high wind report out of this, it's this sensor. We'll see if we get to 50. I didn't see any 60s here in the last scan, but we'll see if we get to 50. But behind that initial line, right, breezy conditions, but just some really solid rain. And again, these rainfall rates are pretty crazy. If we look at how much rain has fallen, so I've got the ability here to obviously also look at how much rain has fallen. Now, let me be clear. It takes some time for this product to fully update, right? So I want you to notice that in the last 6 hours, this is just the last 6 hours, guys, how much rain has actually fallen over Central Florida. But obviously there's been pockets of heavier activity, and it is mainly in the Brevard County area today. So these are all radar estimates, but you are getting some spots with over 3 inches. Now, again, let me be clear. It takes a little bit of time for the radar to take the data, squeeze it out into this graphic and show us. But it will pick up in Palm Bay and Malabar. So the bottom line is that if you remember the storms before they moved east of I-95, if they produced 3 inches of rain here, they have likely to have produced 3 to 5 inches of rain in a few isolated spots east of I-95. Not extremely widespread, but that potential for that kind of rain total for today is there. And if you live in these areas, if you have any kind of ponding, maybe on your side yard or low-lying areas that typically pick up water first, let me know. You know, always want that real information in real time. Back over to the advisories. Again, this would show me if there was a flood advisory for Brevard County or Indian River County. There's not. That's the special weather statement. Again, that's just kind of the county by county look. And if we were to get an actual flash flood warning, which is the biggest problem, it would appear in real time on our radar system. So I never have to worry about that. The system itself will pick up on a flash flood warning in real time. Noah says it is horrible. Getting rocked in Palm Bay. Thank you, Noah. Sorry you're getting rocked in Palm Bay, but I appreciate the information. So again, it's just a nasty cell, guys. They looks like, have they extended this farther south, I believe? I don't know. I guess it was down to Vero Beach before, wasn't it? But we can just clearly see this line is sharpening up here. And this was the area, as I've mentioned, that we expected the storms to come together a little bit more and they work their way south and east. See, that storm has left Brevard County at, or Volusia County, excuse me, right on the edge. So we got some cells all the way up in Ormond Beach, Holly Hill, Daytona Beach, Wilbur by the Sea, South Daytona, Port Orange, Ponce Inlet, New Smyrna, Edgewater. Some rumbles of thunder here. Give it a minute, let it clear out. That's what it looks like on the visible satellite imagery. I'm going to zoom out so you guys can kind of get an idea of our overall situation today. Again, West Coast sea breeze and energy marched in. East Coast sea breeze is just inland right now. So all the storm activity, again, marched west to east. A little bit of support at the mid-levels of the atmosphere. Still some energy left over from what was left of Tropical Storm Arthur. It was much more prominent yesterday, but still enough to engage and provide the opportunity for some pockets of stronger storms. And that is what it looked like for today, right? Where we could get some downburst strong winds, a little bit of drier air in the mid-levels of the atmosphere, come down at the surface, produce those downburst straight line winds. And that was the biggest threat for today across Central Florida. Not as concerned about the rotating storms and the tornado threat. The hail threat was still up to 1 inch. That is a problem. We've had a couple of either severe thunderstorm warnings or special weather statements with 3/4 inch size hail. So we haven't hit that inch size hail, but 3/4 inch is close to producing, the potential for some problems. So, I call it coin size hail. You get your pennies, then your 0.88 inches is your nickel, then you get to the inch quarter size hail, and that's when it really becomes a problem. But we are under a marginal risk overall for severe storms. Now, eventually this Storm Prediction Center might cut off northern and western areas. As I've mentioned in the stream, I do expect these storms to continue to kind of propagate south and east and will follow I-95 in areas just to the west and produce additional potential for severe storms throughout the day and into the early evening hours in those spots. Granny C asked, have we made up the deficit from the drought? Unfortunately, we're not even close. Unfortunately, we're not even close because we're so far behind. It's good to have gotten wetter, especially in the central and the eastern part of the state, but storms have been absent from the West Coast. So we're fighting the good fight. Things are improving overall as a whole, although some spots are still desperate for some rain. But it is going to take, I believe the last time I looked, we had to surplus our rain by about 25 inches or so over the course of the summer months to even start catching back up. It's going to take a lot more than normal, but an El Nino summer gives us at least a little bit better opportunity. Again, an El Nino summer in Florida can mean an enhanced sea breeze. The jet stream and the moisture pattern gets a little bit more over the deep south. And even though we have our sea breeze interaction regardless, that can throw more moisture and more instability in the atmosphere to produce a better opportunity for storms. Well, I'm watching the World Cup. Absolutely. I had to jump on here when it was 2-0, 2-0 US, and that was how that ended. So really happy about that. They get to go to the knockout round. They get to play a meaningless game. They get to rest. Hopefully Pulisic comes back. I mean, and how about, have you guys been following, by the way, the social media of foreigners who have come to visit America and how enthralled they are with our country? I've loved enjoying that too. You know, Germans and the Scots up in Boston, and just some wonderful stories about them, just jaw dropping for them to see how we live on a daily basis. Lets you know how lucky we are. Great question, Noah. El Nino is a warming of, it begins as a warming of the coastal waters off of the west coast of South America. It warms up the equatorial waters of the Pacific, but because all of our weather is connected in a global basis, believe it or not, it actually influences weather patterns over North America and the Atlantic in general. And typically what it provides is very strong easterly winds in the Atlantic basin and the Caribbean, and that disrupts tropical development. You have a lot of shear in the atmosphere with the strong winds at the lower levels, and that's why in an El Nino, the Atlantic hurricane season typically has lower total storms, hurricanes, and major hurricanes. But the Gulf is an area, and we already saw it with Arthur, that is not as hostile as areas to the south. And from time to time, in a very long season, all the ingredients can still come together and produce storms. Look, we're going to get storms. It's not like it's, you know, not going to happen. It's just how many do we get? And typically, we don't get as much during an El Nino. Oh, the Scots drank all the beer. They did. Remember, my last name's McCranie. I have some Scottish heritage. I'm not a big drinker, though. I might enjoy a beer after this, I'll tell you that. So, again, everything is playing out as I anticipated, where the worst storms now continue to move south. Sebring, Lake Placid. There's the Port St. Lucie. Someone's barbecuing there. I told you those storms might get going. Southern sides of Brevard County, still bad. Miko, Sebastian, into Svelsmere and Indian River County. Trying to improve a bit, but still pretty nasty right along the coast. Again, this doesn't do it justice because the radar site is right there, so I have to switch over here. Not as much red right now. Southern Merritt Island, Pineda, Satellite Beach, O'Galley, but it's still there some. Still a little cell right here over the air north. Decent lightning. Not severe, but good gusty winds. And things continue to improve as a whole towards I-4. Again, our live cameras here. Again, over Winter Garden, not a lot of sun. Not expecting there to be a lot of sun, at least in the short term. Now, could there be a little bit of sunshine redeveloping? Absolutely. And you get this too. You get a little spotty shower or an isolated storm to crop back up. It's a decent little cell right now over 471. Maybe swinging into western Lake County up towards Groveland. But it's pretty spotty in nature. But you could run under a storm in our western areas before the afternoon and the early evening is all said and done. But it's not going to be like this. This is all coming south and east. But are you going to get a lot of sunshine the remainder of this Saturday in most of Central Florida? I don't expect it. Great question, Carol. We do not have an app as of yet. That is something that potentially down the road, if you guys keep watching, you guys keep supporting the channel, you know, we have the financial means to do so. If we, you know, can make it work, it's something that we might do. Absolutely. You know, we continue to build out the channel here, but having other avenues for you guys to access us is a potential. The good news is you can almost treat our YouTube channel as an app. And what I mean by that is if you have notifications on, right? So if you're a subscriber of the channel and you have your notifications on, if you see a notification that I'm live, you know to check in. So there's always that. But yes, a standalone app is not out of the question, but we don't have one as of now. Hey, Noah, happy birthday to you. Let's get the hearts out in chat for Noah. Happy birthday. What was the poll question, by the way? Should Rusty always color coordinate with our graphics? Should have known it was something like that. And what does that mean, by the way? And the answer is I'll do what I want. That there actually should have been a third answer in the poll, and that's Rusty just does what he wants. That's the great thing about being your own boss. Now, if you knew me from TV, I was a pocket square, full Windsor knot kind of guy, okay? I brought it. I brungs it with ruckus. It's a little bit more laid back here on YouTube, but that doesn't mean that I'm not fashion conscious. Oh, yeah, we got the happy birthday emojis. Let's do that. It's even better. All right, how are my friends in Brevard County doing? Still just the 22 in Sebastian. That report's a little bit older. It's now basically 2 hours old. But I have not seen this storm pulse up. This is velocity product again. Yeah, this cell it's still producing likely 40s. It will not surprise me if we get a 40 plus report out of Sebastian, but it's not the 50s and 60s west of I-95. This storm weakened wind-wise a little bit as it moved east of I-95. The special weather statement will expire at 3:45. Special marine warning, of course, will continue much beyond that. Again, drop off that special marine warning. So I like the trend. If you guys follow the channel, you know I talk about trends. The trend with this storm is our friend. It's not so much areas south. That's where it's still pretty nasty. But for southern Brevard County, wind-wise, the trend is our friend. Not as sharp here, but again, rainfall, bad. Not a flash flood warning, though. Nothing like that. Again, that would pop up if that were the case. Still could see pockets of isolated flooding, though. And again, improving conditions in other places. Hope for no storms during any of those soccer games. Well, we'll see. I mean, we know they're all outdoors. Well, I guess SoFi technically isn't outdoors. But they're all natural grass. That'd be nice if they could avoid any bad weather here, but it is the United States in the summer months, and some of those areas are pretty nasty. I mean, you know, we got to avoid some storms in Miami, right? That's one of the things. So looks like Melbourne's last report was 29 at 3:20. So about 25 minutes ago, 30. Again, not that bad. I think it's the rain more than anything else. Okay. So let's reset at 3:45. We had a good line of storms that came through from the I-4 corridor into Brevard County. I expected the movement to be east and southeast. That has been the case. There's a lot of overcast skies still with a little bit of breaks of sunshine you can see through the rest of Central Florida. A few isolated storms could still redevelop in our western areas. Not a lot of juice in the atmosphere overall. Not storms that are likely to pulse up and become strong to severe. All right. The activity now has really kind of raked the atmosphere, Orlando south and east. Overcast skies, still additional scattered rain possible here, but notice it's all really light green in nature. What continues to happen is that these storms here continue to line up, and they'll continue to march their way south and east. And it's those areas as we go through the remainder of the afternoon hours and into the early evening that could have some of the stronger activity for the remainder of the day. But for our area here in Central Florida, likely, if we're lucky, and I believe so, we're probably done with our severe weather risks for today. All right, so these storms will continue to push off south and east. Additional isolated storms could redevelop, and I'll be monitoring that situation. I mean, obviously, you guys know that I monitor at all times, and if it's necessary, you know, whenever that might be, I'll jump on and I'll cover those storms for you. But at this point, I do like our trend. I do like where these storms are going. Would obviously keep an eye out. And if you guys are still in the chat in southern Brevard County, let us know how you guys are going. But thankfully, at least right now, no flood advisories, no flash flood warnings in that spot. I'm going to check one more time. But yep, no flash flood advisories there. That's good. Okay, so as always, CFLW is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. They offer free consultation and policy reviews. Again, you get stuck in an insurance claim process. It's a hassle. It's not a lot of fun. Bobby Lean and the team can walk you through that insurance claim. Check them out. The QR code works. Scan that. It'll take you to their website. You can go to their website by going to leanonmelaw.com if you guys would like more information. So friends, we're going to wrap up this live stream right now. I appreciate all of you. Thank you to all of our moderators. Thank you to all of our new subscribers and our new members. Again, if you want to support the channel, you can become a member of CFLW, join the Storm Squad, to get access to custom badges and emojis during these live streams, and you get access to exclusive member short videos. From time to time, I'll put together some short videos for our members in between these live streams, my behind the scenes thoughts, when I think I might next be going on, just kind of the overall outlook for things. So you can check that out by becoming a member. If you wouldn't mind doing me a quick favor, hit the like button for me on the way out, and hit that subscribe button too as well. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'll monitor the situation. If things are quiet, have a great rest of your Saturday, and I will be back on the next time there is impactful weather here in Central Florida. Until that time, my friends, take care, and I'll see you soon.